give you a quick homework assignment, if you'd be okay with that. And so it could be as simple as a piece of paper that you fold in half or draw a line down the middle. And on the left side, up at the top, you can put, a voice of despair and distress or something like that. And write out everything that he tells you that creates dread, despair, distress, okay?
Sure.
On the other side, if you could write out optimism, hope, possibility, and the first one to write out would be, what did I say, beat all the bushes or something crazy like that. How would you put that? To explore all your options?
Yeah, explore all my
Okay,
options.
first one would be explore all your options. And then just spend some time and carry this around with you, because it won't come naturally or easily. It'll take some work, and every so often you'll find thoughts popping in your head that, oh, okay, that'd be it. Let me go on the right side. And start developing that list a little bit, and bring that in next time, and let's dig in a little bit deeper with this, and see where you're at. Okay? Does that sound like it might be a fit for you?
Oh, sure.
At least
I'm
something
willing
to
to
try.
try anything. I really am.
Great.
Like I shared, it seems also overwhelming, but I've got to start somewhere.
Right.
I just can't keep going.
Great. Okay, Bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your help today.
Okay, quick time check here. Okay, we got time. Good. Let me see. If I wanted to say anything in conclusion to that. Okay, so voice of the therapist was kind of like, okay, you're in a time frame here. He gave you a perfect example. I wanted to see if I could pull out a few more, but then I was like, you're under time crunch, so just use that, because that's plenty of an example. The exploring all your options thought, that's plenty of an example to be able to, throw this concept out there and see if he grabs onto it. Okay, so that's kind of where I was at in my head. So, questions? This is small enough to where if you guys yell loud enough, we should be able to hear you. So we do have a microphone if not. So.
One of the things I really liked about REBT theory, what little I know about it, is the fact that the beliefs that the client is having is really having a horribly negative impact on what they do. There's a lot of other things that seem to go with that. So I was looking for strategies, because I thought about how I would do this in a therapy session, and I would say, you big dumb client, you're thinking stupid, think this way. So
that's Albert Ellis.
Yeah.
That's what Ellis would do.
Really?
Oh, heck yeah.
No, but these are what I picked up on you. Go to Fantasyland. Hop into the head of a positive person, and then you educated the client on the ABCs. Those are 3 strategies that really helped me figure out what to do about the B part. Do you have a whole list of those? I'd like more.
It's improv. It's
okay.
just,
that was really good. I really appreciate having those strategies.
Good. Okay. Yeah. It has to be a creative stretch sometimes to get them into another place cognitively, because that voice. He was so in touch with that, and when we're in a bad place, we're very much in touch with that voice, and so to start breaking away from that just a little bit can be a challenge for sure.
Ellis's approach is very direct and very challenging, and I noticed that your approach was the same way. It was definitely very direct, but it almost seemed kind of pushy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you intended it to be pushy, because there was like no pauses. You just jumped right on everything he said.
Mm-hmm.
Was that just for time's sake, or was that realistic?
It was for time's sake,
okay,
more than anything, because I wouldn't be quite as directive.
Okay.
I might not even use this approach with him in reality. I feel like it was a fit, but I kind of made it a fit. It was like kind of REBT forced therapy. but I think it worked,
Because
So
I'm wondering how much resistance you would get from somebody who is so rigid and stuck in those beliefs. I mean, do you ever get resistance?
it's all about rapport.
Yeah.
It's all about the stuff that you're learning about. Track 1, it's all about that stuff. If you have a strong alliance with the client, then there can be a great deal of forgiveness on their part, and a great deal of acceptance and non-judgment and all that stuff that we are supposed to be creating for them, they'll hold for us. Because, if we're enacting that with them, we're not going to be forcing them in any direction. We're going to be respectful of where they're at. And this can go from therapy to the prison system to whatever. We're quick to get ourselves off the hook and say, oh, they're resistant. They didn't want to do what I think is best for them. And I think it's an excuse a lot of times.
All right, you mentioned that REBT obviously isn't always the right fit for each client. Is there a specific client or specific disorders that you would not use this with?
Clients that are in, like I said earlier, a very heightened emotional state or something, I need to join and be with that. I feel like I need to allow them the safe space to have an emotional process and to find some tools that would help them do that, rather than pulling them into a cognitive place. So that I'm very sensitive about. In terms of disorders and stuff, I mean, access to stuff, I mean, that's always tricky for every model, but I know it's been, that and CBT are big approaches for, a more significant pathology.
Do you find that people need to have insight in order to be able to respond to this?
Yeah, that's a great question, because some people just kind of naturally are not more adapted going there, to this cognitive kind of. Men are usually good at this, because we're kind of very pragmatic and give me things to fix this and tell me how it's going. Oh, this is how it works. This is the scheme, But I mean, not in all cases. But yeah, some people it's just much more in an emotional place, much more about talking about the past, much more about feeling like they need to resolve their issues in other ways, and don't necessarily get the whole ABC thing. So.
What is the main differences between this and CBT? Like, what really differs it from CBT?
Technique is one. There's so many similarities between the two, but REBT. Well, Ellis is considered the grandfather of CBT. He kind of started the stuff, and the ABC is definitely very unique to REBT. Cognitive distortions, kind of identifying that stuff. A lot of the other techniques that he used, role-playing, imagery, enactments, and things like that, you don't really see in CBT as much. And Beck was a psychiatrist, and he really came from a whole different research-based kind of thing. Ellis was this real eccentric, crazy dude that kind of came from this more engaging kind of confrontational kind of here and now sort of thing. They're both cognitive, but they look very different in reality.
I saw a lot of social focus techniques, like almost a narrative question. Well, if this was an example, what would it look like in a narrative? With let's put these negative things aside, main problems aside. Is that all part of REBT as well?
Nope, has nothing to do with it. This is my style of REBT. Matter of fact, because I come from a systemic background in family therapy, and it's funny because a lot of my family therapist colleagues, because I teach in the school, the MHC program, and a lot of the family therapy people cannot understand why I'm a traitor, why I can do that, and turn my back on systemic thinking, because isn't that the only way and the right way to think about that's not very systemic to think that way now, is it? And but I think this can work very well in terms of using this to externalize. And I think externalization is a big part of empowerment, to see that, oh, this is not me, I'm not, and Ellis would not say this, he would say, it is your crazy thinking, it is your, you're looking at this all wrong, it's you need to straighten this out. And I really like taking a different angle of like, fear and despair, the crazy voice in the back of your head. It's not you, it's this thing that's going on. You're a separate being from this, so here's what you can do to, keep pushing that stuff out and create a new narrative. I'll never use that. Anyway.
So in reality, you could go like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 sessions of getting to know the client, their problems, their emotions, and what they're feeling before you dive into the actual REBT, correct? Yeah. I mean, the first session, he might really come in and just be in such an emotional place, and just typically REBT always. And I typically do that anyway, no matter what I'm using. I like having them walk away with something, Any other questions or comments?
I noticed, I don't know anybody else, but in the demonstration, even though at the end it displayed the ABC model, it seemed like as the demonstration went to A, B, and C, and kind of incorporated all of
Ask that in a different way.
Yeah, can you?
And maybe with a microphone. Yeah.
So you have the bigger circle.
Hold on, get the microphone.